Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show, and we are very proud to have you. Glad you stopped by. It's gonna be a little different for this broadcast, and we're trying to get our I refer to it as our sea legs underneath us. Uncle Bocce is out. He's going to be out for a little while due to his operation, kind of scrambling back into Uncle Bocce mode. So there's just going to be the two of us. Ima, say hello.
Yeah, howdy, folks.
So it's Ima and Doc doing the show, and we've got a whole new interface in front of us in terms of our service provider. So
lots of changes.
Yeah.
Goodness. Okay, that's it now.
Well, I mean, it should all be for the good, but we may fumble around on the buttons or whatever. We'll try to maintain the consistent. Go ahead.
So, in that doctoral program that I'm in, they
Yes,
say
ma'am.
that we're going to become agents of change. So I'm like, is this like karma or something?
Yeah, there you go. This is agent of change
I'm
under
telling
fire.
you,
This is
like, oh my God, on the job training.
There you go.
Dude.
Being dropped off the high board into the deep end to learn how to swim. So, we are all over the social media for the time being as the Doc Owen Show, DocOwenShow. We have a wonderful blog, Doc Owen Show, spelled the same way, .com. And if you go out there, you can also go to the stores, or I don't know whether we call it stores or store. I think it's stores because there's multiple areas that we're building and developing, and there's some pretty cool merchandise. It's there. It's a good spot to find things that are patriotic, that are I've forgotten our 3 Ps. It's been a while since I said them, actually.
Pampered. Oh, no, that's a subset.
That's a
Sorry.
subset.
Patriot,
Prepared, and I don't know
Practical.
what practical. There you go.
Yeah.
Good job.
Uh-huh.
Oh, she's on it. She's on it. I love it.
I don't know.
All right.
Lucky get.
We normally start the show in a traditional manner, and the new traditional manner is going to change a little bit because we're one man out of the loop. So Emma starts us off. Oh, I need to tell them about our apps. We have free apps for both the iPhone and the Android devices, and that is a great way to listen to all of the historical, the shows that we've done in the past, as well as if you follow us on Twitter, you will get a Twitter notice the minute we go live, and you can pull it up on your app and listen to it. So no matter where you are or what you're doing, you don't have to stop what you're doing, but you might want to include it if you're driving or whatever. So download the app from either iPhone or Android and take advantage of that free service that we provide.
And also, too, just if you need to just Google search Doc Owen Show, because he's everywhere.
Well, I don't know about everywhere, but I'm at least in Google search, right?
It looks like you've covered a lot of the virtualness.
Well, we've been doing this 6 years.
Yep.
I mean, we are. That's what that Y6 at the beginning of the show name means. Is and tonight we have a very special guest for you, a gentleman that's been on the show before, but it's been a while, and he's a former Border Patrol. I think you will, if you're anything like I was when I had the conversation with him. Because as you know, we pre-record those conversations. But when I had the conversation with him, I spent about 20 minutes just shaking my head. I mean, you got to be kidding me. And he's not kidding. So I will say this now. I saw, and then you'll hear it on the show, they announced this morning that the Obama administration, in the evening of the 19th of January, 2017, when Trump was about to be sworn in on the 20th of January, the Obama administration wiped clean the ICE website of all presentations that had been made to Congress going back 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Mm.
So now think about that while you're listening to my conversation with Mr. Ward.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go down the path of the traditional opening. Ms. Surefire gives us an inspirational quote, and this evening she may expand that a little bit so we can steal some time from what used to be Uncle Bocce's brief. All right, Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote, and actually a little bit of discussion, comes from the website BibleStudyTools.com. So
all one word?
All one word.
Okay.
I've been signed up for them for a while, and I get a bunch of daily devotionals, weekly devotionals, and a lot of good spiritual information.
Okay. Bible study, singular.
Uh-huh.
Bible study tools, plural. So singular study, plural tool. Okay,
right.
Got it.
One study, many tools.
There you go.
And today's quote and discussion is your Bible Minute. And this is by a lady with the name of Lynette Kittle. She quotes scripture. And the title of her discussion is about the Lord has his eye on you. And she starts off basically with Psalms 102, verse 19, that says, the Lord looked down from his sanctuary on high, from heaven. He viewed the earth. So she goes on to explain, have you ever felt like God is far away, like he isn't interested in what's happening on earth and in your life? Like, you know, because he's up there in spirit and we're down here on earth.
Yeah, right.
Like, where are we? Has the vastness of the world ever caused you to feel insignificant in the overall big picture of life? Yes, honestly, I feel like that sometimes, I guess. Like, I just feel like a dot.
Oh, I'm sure we all do.
On
you know,
the land.
if you think about it, we're like an ant.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yep.
And so she goes on to
So
quote,
think about how an ant must feel.
ooh. Yeah. He's like, ooh, I don't know. Or an amoeba. So she goes on and she talks about more Psalms reflecting on that same thought. And she says, amazing to realize the God of the universe is considering everything you do. It's a concept that may be difficult to grasp. Yes, we just agreed to that. And so if you're wondering how to truly catch God's eye, his word gives the key. It's by seeking after him to understand him and his ways.
See, that a pause for discussion. The thing,
I'll close out.
well, the thing that it doesn't bother me, but I'm challenged by it, and Am and I've had this discussion before, because God is in the spiritual world, not what we call the natural world. Right. But and yet we use natural world references such as him. And so that's always just kind of put my mind into a wait a minute. He's not a him. It is not a him. It's God.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The Spirit.
It's the Spirit.
It's a
God.
spirit.
It's a thought process. It's a feeling. It's a spirit by which you lead your life. And then referencing him in natural world order terms,
right?
I think it is difficult. In other words, it seems we should reserve that for Jesus. Reserve that for things that have either are or have been in the natural world. And I don't know that God has ever been in the natural world.
Not that I've
There's no record of it. There's no reference to that fact.
No.
At least what we know is the natural world on Earth.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So
but
anyway,
we see it through the creation of all living things.
I get it.
Right?
But you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. That's a very good way of looking at it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Very good. And so Lynette, she closes out with some thoughts to think about here, such as, where is your heart focused? Are you seeking after God? If so, know God is looking to see how he might uplift, encourage, and support you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. I believe in all that.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting.
All right. Good job. I like that.
Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you.
I like it being a discussion point. And then I follow that. Then Uncle Bocce does this day in history. Maybe next time I'll fill in at least that little gap. And then I do something down the leadership lines, or actually for the past year or so, I've been quoting from this book called God Bless America that a friend of the show gave me. And this is about, and I think if you've listened to the show before or for any length of time at all or off and on, you will often hear me, I don't want to say rant, but come on pretty strongly about the United States flag. And it's not so much, there we go back to the spiritual world and the natural world. It's not so much the natural world of the flag that we see. It's the spiritual world of what it represents that I tend to really feel very strongly about and always have. So this is about the flag. It is a symbol of service, is what my little book says. And it's on June the 14th, 1777. All right, Bocce will be proud. The Continental Congress passed the first Flag Act. And it said, quote, resolved that the flag of the United States be made of 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation, close quote. And then an act of April the 4th, 1818, provided for 13 stripes representing the 13 original colonies and one star for each state to be added to the flag on the 4th of July following the admission of each new state. So that's why the area in the upper, as you're looking at it, left-hand corner, excuse me, of the flag, we have stars that have been added. We're now, according to some, up to 57, but I prefer to go with the number of 50. You've got
they really saw stars.
Yeah,
wow.
You got it, and it's interesting to me that no matter when the state, if the state joins the Union on July the 5th,
it won't be.
They got to wait till July the 4th the following year before their star will show up on the flag.
It kind of reminds me like when you go to school and you have to be age 6.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if your birthday
is. As long as
after the cutoff, you're going to have to wait a whole year.
That's exactly right. Or get special permission.
That's right.
But
not on the star and the flag.
I don't think so.
No.
But it's interesting, if you'll recall, they have not changed the stripes. We still have 13 stripes. We still have, the original.
Now, if somebody misquotes that, boy, they're way out there. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying.
Because that's the original colonies. That's like way back
So
there.
that's the quote. All right?
Very good.
We're going to talk when we get through with the conversation that I had with Mr. Dave Ward. We're going to talk a little bit about current events, and one of the current events I'd like to cover or will cover is about the United States Census and the importance of the census. Say it right. Census. CENSUS. That's what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
Hadn't done Gibbons in a long time. So, let's...
it's a peanut butter you ate earlier.
I guess so.
Yeah.
You want to dive right in with Mr. Ward?
Sure.
And then that'll kick off plenty of thought process.
Yeah.
And I'll just lay it out there too. We are contemplating. No, I'll reserve that. 'Cause that'll be.
We're gonna leave it like a soap opera hanging
Yeah,
there.
I'm gonna. This is just play like this is Friday at 11:58, and the soap opera's about to close out, and you have to wait till Monday.
That. It was nerve wracking.
So, sorry about that, but that's what we're going to do. So let's have a conversation with Mr. Dave Ward, and we will be back on the other side.
Gotcha.
About to have a conversation with a young man by the name of Dave Ward. Dave has been on the show before. He is a resident agent in charge, and then he's got parentheses retired after that. But I think from the sounds of it, not really. It's kind of like there's no such thing as a former Marine, you know.
No, there's not.
Once you're in, you're in. The U.S. and he was with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Office of Investigations, just to give you a heads up. And he spent 33 years actively in the service of defending the country from or against illegal immigration, both Border Patrol as well as inland security. Is that a good overview, David, that lets you know that we know what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's true. 33 years of both Border Patrol and ICE.
Good for you. Good for you. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, my pleasure.
So with all of that experience and knowing what's going on, and I was serious when I said, I mean, we have reports and we know of or have seen. Now we are getting illegal immigrants is how we refer to them. I don't know what the politically correct term is, but that's just sort of what we call them, border busters, whatever you want to call them. Coming across from not just OTMs, not just other than Mexican, but literally from the Congo and way other parts of the world that we were not expecting.
Well, there's 195 nations in this world, and as of last month, our Border Patrol has apprehended representatives from over 150 of those nations.
Oh, my God.
To give you an idea.
I had no idea.
Yeah, we're talking everything from the sub-Saharan continents, India, Bangladesh, China, Vietnam, of course, Africa. From all over the world, these aliens are coming in across our border. Once the word went out that we weren't going to do anything about it, the smugglers went to high-speed warble and started bringing them all in.
As soon as they knew it was open season. Yeah.
Right, because they know our Congress is feckless and will do absolutely nothing to secure our border.
You know, all the focus, you bring up a perspective for me anyway. All of the focus, we're in Texas, so obviously all of our focus is on the southern border. And all the news media, everything that goes around is always about the southern border. And yet, if you think about it, our northern border is considerably larger. Why is
it is.
Why is that not as much of is it as much of an issue and we just don't see it covered? Or
it's not as dynamic as the southern border is. The southern border, of course, is going to have the largest pipeline of illegal aliens coming to the United States because of the corruption of Mexico itself.
Okay.
The cartels basically run Mexico, and their livelihood is on criminal activity, everything from drugs and people.
Yes,
now,
sir.
Canada is a little bit more sophisticated. They're a little bit more in tune with, the way of living and rule of order and things of that nature.
Right.
And plus, it's a little bit difficult to get into Canada in the first place.
Uh-huh.
But our southern border is just ripe for anybody to come into the United States.
Yeah, and there's really nobody on the other side of Canada. Plus, if you go not too many miles to the inland, you're trekking through snow all the time.
Well, not to say that. Now, we do get a good number of aliens coming in from Canada. And believe it or not, they're from Mexico and from Central America. What's happening is that they're flying into Canada and then coming in through Canada into the United States through New York and Washington State and other places along the border. Plus, we still have a lot of drug trafficking with the northern border. Things are actually getting worse, though, as we talk about this, because a lot of the Border Patrol agents have been moved from the northern border to the southern border to help process these multitudes of people coming in, leaving our northern border even more open than it was before.
So we've dropped our rear guard. Yeah.
We not only dropped our rear guard, but our front guard.
Yeah.
Down the southern border, we have only so many agents, and if you have 1,000 aliens like they did in El Paso in one night, 1,000 aliens, and try to process that many people with, a team of 20 agents, it will take you all night long, and it pulls them all off the line. They're not preventing drug trafficking or anything now. They're babysitting. They're taking people to hospitals, and they're processing. They're not taking care of our border.
Right.
So now our northern border's unsecure. Our southern border is completely wide open. And not only that, all the checkpoints, or at least most of the checkpoints, have all been closed to pull those personnel in to help process all these aliens. Of course, the cartels are taking advantage of all of this.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, they're watching our every move, and mostly anticipating it. You know, because they're not. The one thing they are not is stupid.
No, they watch. They have an intelligence apparatus much better than anything else in Mexico. They know exactly what we're doing, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. So they develop all their smuggling techniques and methods around our operations. Another thing people need to be aware of now. Last month, Border Patrol arrested over 135,000 people.
Yeah, I heard. We heard 133. So
it's about 133, 135,000.
Yes, sir.
Once you get over 100, it doesn't matter anymore. But one thing people don't realize, those are 130,000 aliens that were apprehended or turned themselves over to the Border Patrol.
Yeah. What did we miss?
Our statistics is that we catch 1 out of 5.
OMG.
Okay, now, I've already said the border's wide open. Do you think that the cartels are not taking advantage of getting the bad guys around us now?
Oh, sure.
So if we're only arresting 1 out of 5, it's probably up to 1 out of 8 now because nobody's on our southern border preventing this from happening. Now, the people that are getting turned over to the Border Patrol, the ones that turn themselves over, are generally family units or people without any kind of criminal record and seeking asylum. Although it's a bogus claim, they're going to file paperwork for the asylum.
Sure.
The bad actors, the bad guys, the criminal aliens are not going to turn themselves over to the Border Patrol. They're not going to come through a port of entry. They're going to go through somewhere where the Border Patrol is intelligence that the smuggling cartels have already developed.
Yeah.
So who would utilize that?
Yeah.
Criminal aliens and terrorists.
I was just going to say, you got to know that the worst of the crowd is not who we're catching.
The ones that want to avoid detection,
right,
that want to mean this country harm, are the ones that are going to circumvent and exploit our open border.
It's the old saying.
And we're going to feel this later on. I can guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever's happened, they're already here, and we're going to get hurt by it.
Right.
The other thing that's happening here that there is little attention on, that gets me into trouble all the time, it even got me in trouble with Fox, is the medical.
Now you're bragging.
No, I don't care.
I know. But...
It's the disease and the contagions that are being brought in by these illegal aliens. Our agents, if they're not processing, they're home sick because of what they're getting.
I'll bet.
And they're coming in with all sorts of diseases that have basically been eradicated from the United States are now back.
Right.
Now, one thing I really, really got to be concerned with. Now, your listeners can Google this. Everything I say, Google it. It's there.
Okay.
There has been a tremendous outbreak of Ebola.
Yes,
Ebola
sir.
is absolutely lethal if you get it.
Yeah.
It's hard to get. It's not easy. It's not like getting a flu. But any exchange of bodily fluids like sneezing or anything like that.
Yep.
And what are all these aliens? They're all confined in a close proximity of each other in buses, trains, or whatever to get up to the United States. And guess what? They start sneezing, spitting, whatever. If any of them had a contagion, it's going to spread.
Right.
Now, Ebola has killed over 2,000 people already since the outbreak in August, and it's multiplying weekly. Your listeners can listen to this.
It's growing and not it is growing exponentially and not being reported.
Right. Okay. And what is happening now is that we're getting a lot of aliens, over 500 now, came in from the Congo last month.
Right.
500.
Yeah, I was serious. We've got 200 of them that were dropped off in downtown San Antonio.
Right, and it takes
from the Congo.
Anywhere from 7 days to 21 days is the incubation period.
Yes.
For an outbreak of Ebola.
Correct.
These people come in, they still look fairly healthy. Once they get into one of our flying test tubes, which is an aircraft,
called aircraft,
or one of our rolling test tubes, which is a bus or a train, and start exposing their disease to everybody else by spitting, swabbing, or whatever, we're going to end up with a pandemic in this country, and it's all because Congress absolutely refuses to recognize the problem that we're having on the southern border.
I cannot imagine. It's just I know why they're doing that, and you do too. But I cannot imagine that they think that's a good decision. You know, I mean, it just befuddles me. It's kind of like California announcing they're going to give free health care to all their illegal aliens, and then
they're doing everything they can to hurt this country.
Yeah, they really are. They really are.
I was just looking at a bill that's pending in Congress right now. It's H.R. 2740. And Section 233, 235, 234, and 237 all have little statutes in there about money that HHS is getting, which is health and
human services. Right.
They get money, and some of that money is used to house illegal aliens that we're handling right now, like the children that can't be with adults and things like that. Well, in this bill, it stipulates there is absolutely no way that HHS can work with DHS if it has anything to do with housing aliens.
Really?
So they're shooting us in this. We can't put anybody in jail. We can't house anybody. They've got absolutely no detention centers to put all these people. We're kicking them out the back door. And I can guarantee you in 5 years, we're going to have another DACA issue. But it's going to be millions and millions of more aliens looking for amnesty based on this.
Cloward and Piven overrun the system.
Yep.
Overrun
exactly
the system.
What's happening.
We're witnessing history, but not in a good way.
No, you're witnessing the destruction of the United States as we know it.
Right. I never thought we'd be here. I mean,
I never thought the Koch brothers would be backing this up too.
Yeah. I was going to say it's got some players behind it that
you got
it's
Soros
just unreasonable.
And the Koch brothers doing this.
Well,
it's
Soros is we've known he's the devil in disguise from the get go. But I'm with you about
now.
Yeah, now he's recruited some others. Yeah. Yeah.
Just got to bang your head against the wall about how crazy these politicians are and why do people keep on electing the same fools in over and over and over again that will do nothing to protect our country.
Definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So, I'll ask you like I do some other folks that are in the similar business to you or have a subject matter expertise level or what we call on the show, you're a WFA. And so you might want to remember that you might want to write this down. As a WFA, you are the world's foremost authority as far as the DACO and show and our listeners are concerned. What on the flip side of it, other than the obvious of getting Congress somehow, some way, either by executive order and just trample on the judges that try to stop it, or, Congress being struck by lightning and all of a sudden getting religion and doing the right thing. What can we do about it? I feel so helpless as a citizen. That's what bothers me, I think, the most is there doesn't seem to be anything we can do about it.
But there is something people can do about it.
Thank you.
And I'm going to take San Antonio for example.
Please.
Okay. You just had an election not too long ago, and you have 754,000 registered voters in San Antonio. Only 120 of your citizens bothered to get out and vote. That's 15%. And what did you get for a mayor?
You don't play fair, do you?
No, I don't.
I love it, David.
I used it.
You're absolutely correct. I've been saying the same forever. You know, I mean,
I use the same argument with the people from New Jersey, where I originally came from.
oh, that
They're
explains a lot.
whining up there about this Governor Murphy, and I said, I just looked at all your records and everything. Only 25% of you all went out and voted, and here
Right.
you are complaining that you have this leftist progressive governor in the state of New Jersey. The answer is with the people. They have to. The apathy is absolutely disgusting of American voters. They have this tremendous privilege to determine where our country's going if they would just get off their butts and walk down to the voting booth and place their vote. But they won't do it.
Well,
They're complacent, they're apathetic, and they don't care until they get affected by whatever they didn't vote for. Because if they don't vote, it's a vote for the other guy.
quite some time ago, I came up with what I thought was a workable solution to that apathy. If you vote, you don't have to pay property taxes, and the people who don't vote will cover you.
Oh, I like that idea. That's a fine idea.
So, since only 15% of us are voting, the other 85%, it really won't impact them but a few dollars every year. And if they want to continue to not vote, that's how they can pay for their apathy.
That's the negative poll tax.
There you go. I mean, I think that would send people to the polls.
Well, I would like to see them go to the polls, but the destiny of this country is in the hands of the citizens of this country.
Always has been.
They have to make a stand.
Yep.
They have to believe in this country for the good it really is. I mean, why do we have hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens come to this country? Why?
Yeah.
Why are they coming here? Because it is the greatest country of the world, and they
Correct.
all want to come here for a reason.
Correct.
Our citizens need to protect this country.
Yeah.
They need to get out and vote and determine the right course for us. And right now, a small minority is dictating the downfall of this country.
Yes, they are. And the problem is they're taking us. We have no escape. There's nowhere to run. In other words, as several people have said, the U.S. is, and I agree with you, it's the reason we're a target is because it's the greatest country on earth and has been, but it's tenuous that it will be as long as we continue to ignore our responsibility. And just like you referred to it as a privilege, I refer to it as a responsibility. If we don't take that under control, then it's not on you and I, or
no, we did our part, but everybody else
exactly.
has to join in.
Yeah. Oh, so, but you're absolutely right. We can get out and vote and do something about it. One little city council district at a time. And boy, I harped on that for years, and I was amazed at we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about Hillary's email. I mean, they don't seem to understand that they've got their priorities upside down.
The other thing folks can do is when they start reading newspapers and all, keep in mind that a lot of the newspaper coverage that you see in there or the media cover are all triggers. And they design these headlines and all to trigger people's emotions. Instead of reading the whole story, they get triggered by what the headline is.
Yeah.
Alien dies in Border Patrol custody, for instance.
Right.
Now, unless they went and read this actual story that this alien was rescued by the Border Patrol, who took him to the hospital, and the alien died while in the hospital in Border Patrol custody, they would think that the Border Patrol was directly responsible for the death of this individual and not for the rescue of the individual.
Happens
all based on a headline.
Yep.
And all the major media does that.
Yes,
they
sir.
put trigger headlines in without an iota of truth or to what actually happened. Like recently, we had a couple of kids that died that were part of the caravans. One child that was caught out in the Boot Heel of New Mexico, which is one of the most desolate areas in the United States. It's hours away from anything.
Yeah, we're familiar.
Had advanced stages of sepsis before the Border Patrol even put a hand on this child. There were 400 that came in at one time. 2 Border Patrol agents caught 400 people. Now, how do you get 400 people out of the desert that's 4 hours away from El Paso where the buses are? So they had to call for transport. And in the meantime, this child was getting sick. They pulled the child aside and did the best they could to get him to the hospital. But of course, the time frame was several hours to get him to a hospital. Not the Border Patrol's fault. It's just where they were.
Sure.
It's the smuggler's fault. And the child died. Another child had advanced stages of flu. Same thing. Same location. Died in the custody of the Border Patrol in the hospital. They were in medical care. The Border Patrol rescued them. But you don't read that in the newspaper. You don't read it in the headline. Alien dies in Border Patrol custody. That's what you see time and time again, and it's all nonsense.
Yeah, and it continued on the next page. They put the headline out there and then continue it on page 7, and nobody flips over to page 7 to read the story.
That's the problem.
It's intentional. I get it. Mr. Ward. So
yes, sir.
Where do we strike a positive in this? Are we getting any better? Or has the current administration helped at all, or just raised more awareness over a problem that continues to get worse?
The thing is, we have a president in the right space, in the right place, to help us with this immigration issue. The problem I see, and many others that are my peers that we consult every single day, we talk about this stuff on our own blogs and things.
Sure.
Is that the undercurrent, the subordinates to our president that are leftovers from the previous administration,
the bureaucrats,
are hampering every single move this president tries to make.
Yeah, I know.
They are as bad as the politicians that refuse to help us.
Yeah,
and until these people are weeded out, we are going to continue having the problems that we're having. There should have been contingency plans when this first started happening last year, when these caravans started appearing.
Yes, sir.
I was with the service when we had the Mariel boat lift, and within 2 weeks, they had contingency plans set up where detention camps were set up. All these aliens were detained, and they went through the process that they should have gone through. Not a thing has been done to house these aliens until just recently they started coming up with this epiphany that they should have some sort of detention camp at military bases.
Right.
Well, that should have been done a long time ago.
Sure.
And these aliens should not be kicked out the back door to wander around the country and then come back 5 years later demanding amnesty. But that's what's going to happen. These guys, the people that are in control don't have any forethought as to how to address the situation. They don't consult with the people who've been there and done that. They think they've got a better answer to a wheel.
They don't want to
break the wheel, and they can't figure out how to put the spokes back in.
They don't want to be confronted with the truth. That blows their skull wide open. So if they can kick the can down the road, maybe they'll be gone and it'll be somebody else's problem.
The thing of it is, we have a president that does not kick the can down the road, and people hate that.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, that's the thing we need. We need a president that's going to stand by his convictions and address the problem. But we don't have a Congress that is going to help him. They're going to fight him tooth and nail.
Yeah, and I think that it's not the Congress is the visible part. It's the bureaucrats that are the invisible part, and they drag their feet and push back even stronger than we know. It's been going on for years, and it's just gotten worse.
What people ought to do is start. We've done it ourselves. I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but we started checking the campaign contributions through the FTC as to where a lot of these people stood, and we were pretty surprised as to where the allegiance is.
Oh, they get tons of money from the cartels. Put tons of money into our election system.
Well, there's some folks out there that were supporting other people, and I was very surprised as to what we saw.
I bet.
And anybody can check it out. So that's.
Yeah, I don't.
Citizens really care. They can find the information out for themselves.
I completely. There's nothing that you or I, either one, have said that's not available to the world.
Right.
It's just a matter of digging a little bit and looking for the truth. Well, let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate your time very much.
Well, you're very welcome.
Keep up the fight. Don't give up.
I won't.
If you feel like doing that, give me a call. I'll straighten you out.
Okay, Doc.
Thanks,
Sounds
David.
great.
Heck,
Okay, have a great day.
God bless, man. Thank you.
You too, man.
Bye-bye. That's what is known as a solid patriot. Gave 33 years, hung up his spurs, and then just keeps on giving.
Yep.
I mean, it was a world of knowledge. And were you shaking your head like I was? Could you hear me shaking my head? Hear the rattling going on in my head when I was having the conversation with him. I mean, the numbers are just staggering, just absolutely beyond belief. And then if you take the numbers he's talking about, 135,000 a month, which is only 20% of the total, if those statistics hold true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I haven't even put that to the machine, but that's close to $1 million a month.
Mm.
If 20%, if 135,000 is 20% of the total number, then the total number has got to be about 60,000 or over, 65,000, 650,000. 20% of 650,000 is 130,000.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's I can assure you that's true. I don't have a machine in front of me. You can put it on a spreadsheet if you're one of those kind of people. But I'd suggest you work your brain out, and period. That's it. So what we're saying is, if that number holds true, we got 600,000 aliens, as he calls them, coming across the southern border a month.
Good God.
Times 12, what is that? 7.2 million people. Think about that for a minute.
Right.
And we can't say that it's happening every month. So average it down. Let's say we're only taking in 5 million illegal aliens. And if you go back into the archives of the Doc Owen Show, you will find my frustration at the fact that every time somebody talks about how many illegals we have in this country, the number stays the same. We hear about what's coming across the border, and yet the total number somehow, I guess the same number that come across the southern border, we must be pushing out at our northern border because the total number in this country has stayed the same, according to the media, for probably 5, 6, 7 years. Who knows? But it's been somewhere around 12 to 15 million forever. So, I mean, we have no idea. So that kind of leads me to the discussion that I mentioned before Mr. Ward and I had our chat, and that was about the census. The census is in the news lately because President Trump's administration, now remember this, the executive branch, I know this is going to be hard on you, that some of our audience, the executive branch is also known as the administrative branch of the federal government, right? They administer the law. And they have certain things that they are required to do and they are responsible for and in charge of. And that you cannot, there are certain things that no other branch of government can tell them how to do it. The only way they can do that is to pass another law that says you not only are you responsible for doing it, whatever it is, but you must do it according to this law. Okay? Mm-hmm. Well, the census, which we do every 10 years and have been since I think the late 1700s or early 1800s.
Wow.
I saw it the other day in one of the blurbs I was looking at, and I don't really recall. But it a long, long time, every 10 years, okay? And up until, we'll call it recent history, perhaps the last 20 to 25 5, we'll do them in 10-year increments. Perhaps the last 20 or 30 years. In other words, the last couple or 3 census exercises that we went through. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're going to do one in 2020. Okay, we do them at, 2000, 2010, 2020, 30, 40, 50, blah, blah, blah. So, up until recently, whether you were a United States citizen or not was on the census. And somehow, somewhere along the line, one of the previous administrations, somewhere probably back around H.W. Bush or maybe Clinton, it got taken off. I would suspect Clinton. All right?
That sounds about right.
Or maybe before him, but it was probably a Democrat that took the question off of the census, right? Trump is now putting it back on. And there's a whole bunch of hoopla, fal-de-rah, yankety-yank going on in the political arena. Now, you got to go back to the opening of the show and remember the discussion that Emma and I had about the spiritual world versus the natural world, right? We live in the natural world. We are natural human beings. Spirits live in their own world, can't see them, but we can, most of us can't see them, but we can feel them, all right?
You can have dreams about them.
Well, the census and the functioning of the census is in the natural world. It is done by the administration, and they call the shots on what questions are asked and what questions are not asked, okay? They create the form that is the census. In the political world, that's like the spiritual world. It's just a bunch of barking. It's just a bunch of noise. It's being put on by the other side of, the never Trumpers, the Trump haters, the anti-administration people trying to keep anything from happening to upset their little apple cart that they've had going on for the last 50 or 60 years. And Trump's just knocking wheels off these apple carts every time he sees one. And the census is one of those apple carts. and let me tell you why it is significant. It is not it's not really a fight because there's nothing they can do about it other than make a bunch of noise. But because it's the administration's domain. It's an executive decision, period. It's on. So, but let me tell you why it's important. Do you know what the census drives that impacts all of us? I mean, we need to know how many people are here. Yes. That's a nice thing. And we don't get them all because not everybody responds.
That's true.
I mean, they just don't.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to know because the House of Representatives, a.k.a. Congress, which is a misnomer because Congress is really both houses, Senate and the House, but House of Representatives too hard to say, so it's too long, so people just call it Congress. But the House of Representatives, the number of representatives that your geography has in the House is determined by the population of your geography, of your district, as we call them. Mm-hmm. All right? So ask yourself a question. Don't you want an accurate count of who should really be represented in each district? And who should really be represented are the citizens of that district. Mm-hmm. Not
That's
the total
true.
Population,
Mm-hmm.
not all these people from God's green earth, as you just heard from Mr. Ward, 165 countries out of 190 are sending illegal aliens into the United States across the southern border. So you want all of those 165 to basically have a vote in your House of Representatives? Or would you prefer that the House of Representatives actually represent the citizens of the United States?
That's true.
I'm hoping you want the House to represent the citizens. I mean, that to me is a logical conclusion. Having some skin in the game, as we call it. You're paying taxes. You're doing all sorts of stuff for which you should clamor for citizen-only representation. And the census is where it starts. The count that's on the census is where it starts. It determines whether Texas, because we've had a huge population growth since the last census, may wind up with an additional representation in the House of Representatives. Now, that doesn't mean the House is going to grow. It's capped at 435, sorry. There's 100 senators. 435 people. But those 435 are apportioned across the entire United States. So Texas population growth in citizens must have come from somewhere else in the United States. Right? So somebody's going to lose a vote. Think about this. Some state is going to lose a vote in the House. Right? So where's everybody been leaving? New York City, New York, and California. Those are the two states that have had the most exodus of their citizens.
That's true.
Because of their policies. Right? Both of which are huge, predominantly blue or Democrat states. Have they come to Texas? Not from New York very much. But California, they can't stand the heat, thankfully. But California, absolutely yes. So it's very, very important. It's a moot point, because if the Trump administration wants to do it, it's going to be on there. But you're going to hear a lot of nonsense about it. You're going to hear a lot of, we got to know how many people we got, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a bull sugar how many people we got. I want to know how many citizens we got.
That's right. Amen.
Right? Now, if you want to count the others, which they do, this says citizen or not. So, they'll have a pretty good count, and the Democrats are calling foul. They think the administration's just trying to root out all of the aliens that are already here. That may be some fallout from it. But the point is, I want an accurate count of the citizens of the United States.
That's correct.
And we'll extrapolate from there. We'll add that famous 10 or 12 million that it's been for the last 10 years. So think about it. I just know you're going to hear a lot about it, and it's very important that you understand the specifics of what's going on behind the scenes and why it is important that we have an accurate count of United States citizens once every 10 years. And, where are you? Where are you living? And then we'll have an accurate representation in the House, and everybody will be happy. No, they won't. But at least we'll know we're fighting on solid ground, on a good foundation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody is tipping the scales because they've got a bunch of illegals, and that got them additional representation in the House. Who, by the way, they would represent the illegals, not just the citizens.
That's true.
As some of them are doing right
Anyway.
now. They're up there. Mexico has a vote. It's coming. It comes in looking like. Rut-row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.